Chronicles. He's going to bring us the news. Take it away, Rick.
Thank you, Michael. And by the way, great song on the break. That was awesome. This is February 13th, 2014. I'm Rick Thompson, and this is the news. A homeowners association in a Phoenix suburb tried to ban medical marijuana use in areas where the public could see. Wow, is that reminiscent of new Senate Bill 738 or what? Cancer survivor Tom Labonte had vowed to collect enough signatures to overturn that.
783.
738. 738. Okay. So cancer survivor Tom Labonte wanted to collect enough signatures to overturn the association ban on marijuana use, but that won't be necessary. The Homeowners Association rescinded the ban. Now, Mr. Labonte maintained that the HOA was out of line trying to keep people from using marijuana for medical reasons in their own homes. Now, homeowners associations are having to tread into uncharted waters as states increasingly liberalize marijuana laws. Arizona voters narrowly passed a medical marijuana law in 2010. And this is just one example of the issues arising across the U.S. as new marijuana laws take hold. In Oregon, a city council voted Tuesday to outlaw medical marijuana dispensaries even before they became legal in March. And last week, a state Senate panel in Salem, Oregon, heard testimony on municipalities and whether they should be able to institute such bans. Now, 18 members of Congress this week joined together in calling on President Obama to use his authority to reclassify marijuana from its current position as a dangerous drug. A letter sent by federal legislators said that marijuana's current status makes no sense and request President Obama to instruct the Attorney General Holder to delist or classify marijuana in a more appropriate way. Ignoring White House-appointed commissions, DEA judges, and reports calling for marijuana's reclassification, the federal government has refused to recognize the medical science and popular will in order to maintain marijuana's current illegal status. In addition to popular Representative Blumenauer, who was the author of the letter, the congressional letter was co-signed by representatives from Tennessee, California, Arizona, Massachusetts, Virginia, Texas, Illinois, and Vermont, but not Michigan. The letter's lead author said that reclassifying marijuana is a step the administration can take to start to rationalize federal marijuana policy and bring it in line with the advances that are happening in the states. Last year, a legal battle to reclassify marijuana at the federal level ended in the D.C. Circuit Court. A 2002 petition to reclassify marijuana for medical use was denied in July 2011. Here's something new. The governors of Rhode Island, Vermont, and Washington filed their own joint petition that year to reclassify marijuana for medical use, and Colorado Governor Hickenlooper also filed a separate but similar petition. Now, both of those petitions are currently pending before the DEA, and the Obama administration could approve them at any time. Italy's constitutional court has overturned a law that assigned equal penalties to cannabis and harder drugs. On Wednesday, the federal court ruled that law, which was passed in 2006, violated Article 77 of that nation's constitution. Now, the law was originally inserted as an amendment to a bill for the funding of the 2006 Turin Olympics. Now, that strategic move prevented a discussion about that in Parliament. And in 2006, that raised penalties for cultivation, sale, and trafficking of marijuana from 2 to 6 years to 6 to 20 years, which was on par with penalties for cocaine and heroin. Wednesday's ruling by the Italian federal court immediately reverts the country's drug policy back to the 1993 referendum that provides lower penalties for cannabis as a soft drug. And here's an important tip. About 10,000 people are expected to be released from jail as a result of this ruling. The Michigan Supreme Court last week ruled that the city of Wyoming's ordinance banning all items illegal under federal statute does violate the state's Medical Marijuana Act. Now, that ban, which is similar to an ordinance Livonia has on the books, was the subject of litigation for several years and received a positive ruling in the Court of Appeals in 2012. Now, the city of Livonia filed an amicus brief in the case supporting Wyoming, and Don Knapp, the attorney for the city of Livonia, said although he disagrees with the ruling, he does not see any reason to remove or amend Livonia's ordinance. Now, that was originally instituted in 2009, and since the Court of Appeals ruled in favor of Ter Beek 2 years ago, the city's law and inspection departments have not enforced the ordinance. And with this ruling, Attorney Knapp said the city will most likely keep the ordinance as is and not enforce it for medical marijuana patients. Dan Korobkin of the ACLU, friend of this show and a later guest, was quoted in an article as saying, "This unanimous decision by the Michigan Supreme Court rejects the misguided efforts of a few local officials to undo the result of that historic election," referring to the 2008 ballot proposal. The biggest overhaul in federal drug sentencing in decades just cleared a major hurdle in Congress. Last week, the Smarter Sentencing Act was passed by the Senate Judiciary Committee, and now it's on to the full Senate for a vote. The bill would roll back the harsh laws that have put more than 100,000 people in federal prison, sometimes for life, for low-level, nonviolent drug offenses. A couple of quick notes. Democratic pollsters are warning of record low turnout of young people in 2014. Candidates and activists are looking at marijuana ballot initiatives and pro-marijuana positions to motivate voters to get to the polls this November. In Texas, Democratic candidate Wendy Davis came out in support of medical marijuana, and she revealed a new openness to decriminalization. She said, "I personally believe that medical marijuana should be allowed for." And she said she'd support legislation to diminish criminal penalties for minor marijuana possession. The comments are the most forthright yet from Davis, and they come in the wake of current Texas Governor Rick Perry's recent statements in favor of decriminalization. In Maryland, Democratic state delegate and gubernatorial candidate Heather Measer has been running an underdog campaign with marijuana legalization as a core agenda item. Now, Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown, who is the front-runner for the position, responded to Measer's call to support Maryland Marijuana Decriminalization Act with a letter saying marijuana laws are costly, ineffective, and racially biased. And even he explicitly supported marijuana decriminalization for the very first time. And in Pennsylvania, almost the entire Democratic field now supports publicly some form of marijuana policy reform. Representative Allison Schwartz led the charge in an interview with Philadelphia Weekly, in which she built upon her previous support of medical marijuana. She said, and I quote, "I do believe that marijuana is over-criminalized, and what we should do is decriminalize possession," she said. She's an 8-point favorite to take up residence at the governor's mansion in Harrisburg. She does not favor full legalization, but said that those caught with small amounts should not receive a criminal record. And folks, that's the news for today. It's February 13, 2014. I'm Rick Thompson. Thanks for listening.
Excellent, Rick.